In the last FOMC meeting held in June, the Federal Reserve announced to keep the rate steady and from the initial 3 cuts to possibly 1 cut in 2024. Now the question is, will Singapore property prices drop if the interest rate never drop at all in 2024? I highly doubt so. And the reverse might happen here. You will have to pay more if you wait. Here's your choice. Do you want to profit more or pay more? Strangely enough, many buyers strongly believe that a recession is coming and property prices will drop due to prolonged high interest rate and uncertainties.
When that happens, I would then consider entering the market. In the meantime, I'll just wait.
Nearly every other client I meet seems to have this belief in mind. You see, we hate to admit that human nature is selfish. Yes, you heard that right. We are all selfish. Let me do a quick survey here. Assuming you own one or multiple property, do you want prices to go up or go down? Would you say shit like,
Man, the prices is skyrocketing. Can somebody do something to stop it?
you wouldn't say that, right? Look, I know this will offend some people out there, but come on, let's just be 100% real here. Don't sugarcoat things. People who pray for prices to drop are those who want to make money from property but have not taken any action. There are two groups of buyer. The first group of buyer will be the close-minded people who have a prejudiced view and refuse to face the truth regardless of what the data and facts may suggest. The thing is that most people are too busy to do market research and analysis, so we do it for you. For free, after we did, and guess what happened? Another FOMO video by agent attempting to brainwash and pressure consumer to buy. Excuse me sir, these data and statistics are published by the authorities. Anybody, including you, can gain access to view it and do the analysis yourself. Mind you, these data are published in the newspaper and government's website, still not reliable enough. Do you think we actually have the time to fabricate fake data out of thin air, sit in front of camera, press record, edit and post it online to brainwash people and pressure people to buy? Really? If you're a firm believer that there will be a property bubble and it's gonna pop in no time, prices will drop, then please enlighten me. Why do these ultra high net worth billionaires continue to buy Singapore property? 2 units at the Ritz-Carlton residences sold at 16.5 million each in January. Jack Ma's wife bought 3 shop houses for US $45 to $50 million in February this year. SEA Limited boss wife bought GCB at 42.5 million in April. These people spent 8 figures on property purchase and the stamp duty alone costs about $2 million. Are you saying that these successful ultra-rich billionaires never see the property bubble and we as the commoner can see the bubble more clearly and a market crash is coming? Since Singapore property prices are at an all-time high, why choose to buy property in Singapore? Do you actually think that they are brainwashed and FOMO by agents into buying? For those of you who are watching, comment below if you believe in 等久就会有, meaning you will eventually get it if you wait long enough without taking any action. On the other hand, the second group of buyers, you are genuinely ready and have ample firepower to pull the trigger anytime. However, you are hesitant due to market's prevailing negative sentiment, which makes you worry about making such a big commitment. Resale transaction has been declining. Developer sales is slower, not as good as in the past. Interest rates are still high, and the latest FOMC meeting announced that there will be no rate cuts by the Fed yet. It is rare and overwhelming for normal people to keep seeing waves of negative news in the market and still have the confidence and guts to move forward. It is very normal. At this point, if you're still around and haven't clicked off, I assume you're interested in learning how to profit more instead of paying more. Do me a favor. Like the video, click subscribe, and ask me anything in the comment section. It helps the channel grow and the algorithm will push out my videos to more people who needs to watch this video. Now back to the topic, will property prices eventually drop if the Fed does not cut interest rate at all in 2024? The first thing we are going to look at is the correlation between the SORA interest rate and the property price index. The light blue represents the interest rate and the dark blue represents the property price index. The Federal Reserve announced and implemented several rounds of QE during the 2008 global financial crisis to support economic recovery after a crisis. In layman's terms, some people describe QE as the Fed printing money out of thin air and injecting the large amount of liquidity into the market. This makes borrowing costs significantly cheaper. Since borrowing costs are so cheap, what would you do? Put in the bank? Guess what the Singaporean do? Yes, they buy property. As we can see, prices went up during the low interest rate period. QE ended in 2014 and the Federal Reserve began to raise interest rates starting in December 2015 progressively, all the way until interest rate peaked in 2019. Prices still went up when the interest rate were increasing. And then what happened in 2019? The pandemic hits and the world was on lockdown, business closure, people cannot travel, and some people lose their jobs. And to prevent the economy from going into another recession, the Federal Reserve implemented QE again, drastically cut rates near to zero to help mitigate the economic impact of COVID-19. Again, when interest rates were near zero, Singaporeans were buying property like crazy, so prices went up again. Now, you might be wondering, why property prices shoot up again in 2013 when the interest rate was so high? Well, because now the government announced changes to ABSD rate in April 2023 to deter people from buying more property than they need. Imagine you own more than one property. After the announcement, if you were to sell off, how to buy back given that the ABSD is higher now? So in this case, if you are financially stable, you will just continue to hold on to your property. There is no reason for you to fire sell your property. Since no one was selling, transaction volume dropped, but then demand increased due to more people seeking a home space during the pandemic period. So prices went up again. From the observation, low interest rate, price went up. High interest rate, prices also went up. So the correlation between interest rates and property prices is inconclusive, but rather demand and supply appear to be the main driving factors behind prices. This brings us to the next point, demand and supply. The chart was taken from the Business Times. Just by looking at the chart, I think it's pretty self-explanatory and very easy to understand. From 2015 to 2017, when the supply of completed homes was high, the rental index went down. Just like last year in 2023, several mega projects TOP together at the same time, with almost 20,000 completed homes hits the rental market. When there are so many units for tenants to choose from, the landlord had no choice but to lower their asking rent in order to secure a tenant. Fast forward to 2018 to 2022, when the supply was low, demand remained unchanged due to population inflation, and guess what? Prices went up. Although history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Moving forward, we are expected to see a lower supply of completed units in the next 3 years. Other YouTubers are very polite. They use the word high chance, high likelihood that prices will go up. Do me a favor, comment below. Who in the right mind thinks that prices will drop when there's a low supply? Next up, this is the juicy part. Let's travel back in time to 2018 to 2019 when the interest rate were at their peak, plus the pandemic just hit. Let's recall how was the market sentiment back then. Park Esta sold 329 units out of 1,399 units on launch day, which was about 23.5%. Treasure at Tampines sold 272 units out of 2,203 units, which was about 12% on launch day. The Florence Residence was the worst. Only 54 units out of 1,410 units were sold, which was only 3.8% on launch day. As a buyer back then, how would you feel? Do you have the courage to enter the market? All three projects had low sales number because of high interest rate, the pandemic, and people were fearful and uncertain about the situation. Then how about those buyers who took action and entered the market? Did they profit or make money? Let's check it out. Now, Park Esta, 226 profitable transaction, 0 unprofitable transaction, average profit 500,000. Treasure at Tampines, 343 profitable transaction, 0 unprofitable transaction, highest profit close to $1 million. The Florence Residences, 203 profitable transaction, 0 unprofitable transaction, average profit 300,000. Everyone was waiting for interest rate and price to drop, but did it happen? No, but the reverse happened. Interest rate remained high and prices went up. Over here, I want to introduce this pricing mechanism to you called the price staging. Price staging is a strategic approach used by the developer to maximize their profit and manage the release of units in a new development. Here's how it works. It involves setting different price levels for different phases of a project sales. Instead of releasing all units at once, the developer sells them in batches, gradually increasing price with each subsequent release. One example is Hugh Haven, where units above level 18 are not released for sales yet in the early phase. Now in the initial phase, we often see early bird discount and low prices. This is where developers sacrifice their profit, launching a handful of units at their break-even price and giving early bird discount. One example we can see would be Jaden selling at 2001 PSF and Sora at 1850 PSF. The purpose is to generate buzz and excitement for potential buyer. However, the number of cheap deals is very few and the competition is very high. Getting it requires a lot of luck in my opinion. So in the second phase, which is also known as the standard pricing, this is where we will see prices adjust to market value, reflecting demand and the success of the initial launch. Sometimes we do see special discounts in the festive season. The goal is to maintain steady sales momentum. Now in the third phase, this usually comes when a project has crossed the 50% sold mark. With steady sales momentum, the developer will start to increase price to make up for the loss given out in the early phase. And in the final TOP phase, this is where units are sold at the highest price because now buyer can see the finished product and be able to move in immediately. After learning about price staging, some of you may ask, when is the best time to enter the market? Take a look at this case study. Buyer A bought level 6 unit and buyer B bought the level 4 units in 2019 when the market sentiment was low and interest rate peaked. They took action when everyone else was fearful. After 2 years of waiting, in 2022, interest rates still remain high, but but there was a gradual acceptance among buyers. Many buyers got tired of waiting, accepted the reality, and decided to move on. Eventually, buyer C and buyer D bought the level 5 unit and level 3 units, one floor lower at a higher price. The difference was about $250,000. Buyer C and buyer D paid more for waiting when they could have entered early. Buyer A and buyer B who entered early had essentially sitting on a paper profit of $250,000. So when the time comes, buyer B and buyer D both sell their 3 bidders at $1.8 million. Guess who makes a higher profit? Now ask yourself, which buyer do you want to be? Do you want to be the buyer who pays more or the buyer who profits more? Now if you are a ready buyer, I want you to give a good thought about this. First off, the official stand was to have 3 rate cuts this year. However, in the last FOMC meeting in June, they changed it to just 1 cut this year, probably in September or November. Even though inflation has come down a lot, no one is certain that it will go below 2% in the next few months or even by year end. With that in mind, let's prepare for the worst. Let's assume that there will be no rate cuts at all in 2024. Is that a good news or bad news? Well, if I'm a serious buyer, this is of course a good news to me, because when everyone is fearful, no one is buying, there will be plenty of options for me to choose from. Not only are other buyers fearful, so are the developers. For them to maintain a healthy sales momentum in a slow market, the developer has to price their unit very sensitively, and some even give special promotion from time to time. So by entering in this period, I can potentially pay less and profit more. Conversely, after listening and seeing the data and no interest rate cut this year, are you still going to continue waiting? Oh my friend, you better pray hard that the developer don't increase price of the unit that you are eyeing. Trust me, a lot of times we are emotion driven. When you see other people are buying, your colleagues are buying, and the project is moving steadily, and the next thing you know, you're going to be like, this shit, I'm tired of waiting. Let's go. By then, you might have missed out the good deals and potentially pay higher than other people. Just like the example earlier, pay $250,000 more. Is it wise to pay more for the same property by waiting? Now, before the video ends, I still want to hear your views on interest rate and property prices. A, I should act now before interest rate drop, because more people will enter the market, demand will push prices up. B, I still prefer to wait and see. Hopefully, property prices will drop one day. C, another FOMO video to brainwash people to buy. D, others. The whole point of this video is to tell you that time is fleeting. We can never buy back time once it is gone. Do not waste time by waiting and hesitating. If you are financially ready but lack courage and conviction, just do it. Just like this quote, when it feels scary to jump, that is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your entire life. If you are unsure about how to go forward and what options to go next, feel free to contact me via this number. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.